Just when you thought fraud couldn't get to its lowest point, think again. We'll be back. Maryland man Sylvester Atinwaki, and I do hope and pray that I am saying his name correctly, has been sentenced in what some are saying is the largest or one of the largest CARES Act schemes to date. Now, when the 2020 pandemic was announced, there's numerous schemes. The PPP loan fraud schemes, all of those came about. But this right here, to me, is one of the lowest of the low. So again, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Again, give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day. And with all of these schemers, these scammers, these hooligans, and I'm being respectful, please be careful. And if your loved one is a senior or has limited mental capacity, please make sure that you are keeping an eye on them. And you'll understand exactly what I mean once I get to that portion of this broadcast. Again, Maryland has been a hot spot, and this right here, oh my goodness, this, I'm not going to say takes the cake, but it's up there. It's in the upper echelon. So let's go without any further delay. Sylvester Atinquani, Atiquani. I still believe I'm saying his name incorrectly, but from Hyattsville, Maryland. Hyattsville. I've spoken about Hyattsville, Maryland, Langley Park, Maryland, on a different case, but the bottom line is that's a cesspool. Let me back up. There are certain areas within that area that are cesspools for schemes and fraud. This case is no different. And as I mentioned, it's sick. And I just don't understand how greed can lead people to engage in some of the most nefarious acts and honestly believe that they are so sophisticated, that they are so above the law, that they will never get caught. But my mom always said to me, and I miss her so much, there is always someone smarter. There is always someone prettier. There is someone always more savvy. So when you think you are totally on your square and cannot get knocked off, beware, beware. And this is just a cautionary tale to let everyone know who's out there scheming and stealing, and you have pull because your relatives are perhaps employees in certain places, especially a federal government, you too can get carted away. So let's continue. So, as I was mentioning, Sylvester Achinquani from Hyattsville received an 18-month sentence, less than his co-defendants, because he was not the ringleader. He is set to begin serving that sentence early next year. So you may be asking, oh, what is it that you're talking about? Well, I will let you know. Atengwani sentencing was originally scheduled for January 6, 2023, but was postponed to September the 22nd, 2025. He was one, I repeat, he was one of three men charged in the scheme. As part of Achinguati's plea, he must pay at least $250,000 in restitution. Again, we're going to look at this really quickly again. Sylvester Achinquani from Hyattsville received an 18-month sentence, less than his co-defendants, because he was not the ringleader. He is set to begin serving his sentence early next year. Okay, and we see this again. According to the plea, he must pay at least $250 in restitution. Next, as you can see here, nearly 3 million, again, 3 million was stolen during the scheme. And there was, according to reports, and again, I implore you to do your own research, almost 600 victims. 600 victims. So this is how this nefarious scheme worked. I'll put this here. The indictment, and this is just sick again. The indictment alleged that Etanquani and two other defendants obtained social security numbers and birth dates of what they are calling unwitting victims between February 2020 and February 2021. Then, if that wasn't bad enough, they then applied for unemployment benefits at the height of the pandemic. I'm going to leave that up there so you can just understand and absorb how dark and diabolical this was. I'm sure most of you have had the opportunity to read that. And for those of you that are out, my trucker gals and guys, I'll go ahead and read it again. The indictment alleged that Achinwani and two other defendants obtained social security numbers and birth dates of unwitting victims between February 2020 and February 2021. After that, they then, meaning these individuals, these defendants, applied for unemployment benefits at the height of the pandemic. The judge in this case, Richard Bennett, called the abuse of these aid programs nationwide shocking, further stating the whole thing opened up a cookie jar for people to raid at their pleasure. Now, Achingwani walked out of the federal courthouse on Monday to an uncertain future. His lawyer told the judge that of the millions stolen, Achingwani personally received very little and stands to pay, a very heavy price. This is a photo of him walking out of the federal courthouse in Baltimore. Now, again, I have empathy for people, but when you are scamming people, especially the elderly and vulnerable, there's a special place for you. I'm going to leave this here for a moment. I'll read it and I'm going to leave it here so you can understand how dark and devious some of these individuals are. Federal prosecutors said that Achingwani defrauded one victim with okay, I'm going to repeat that, limited mental capacity, who was in his care at a group home. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, is a red flag. Group homes and those that are caring for limited capacity deemed individuals has been a problem, I must say, in Maryland for a long time. And I honestly feel as though these type of cases need to be revisited. So the overall scheme involved, like I said, nearly 3 million, and they're cutting it at the cap here at 2.7 million in fraud and 600 victims, according to the government. And you'll see it again right here. Now, listen to this. I'm going to make sure I have the right one. Okay, as I mentioned this earlier, they would get the social security numbers and the birth dates. But this is how it got just just demonic, satanic to me. The benefits would then be delivered in prepaid debit cards. They would often be mailed to, and this is another problem, vacant apartments that the defendants could access. Now, one of the first questions I would have is, who was the mastermind behind knowing what apartment buildings were vacant? So, are there other defendants that just hasn't been named, or could the other two that were given larger sentences part of this scheme where the apartments came into play? Again, as he walked out, he was concerned about his future, but the concern wasn't so much about restitution and his sentence, ladies and gentlemen. Much of his concern, I would venture to say, most of his concern is about being deported, possibly to Cameroon, which, according to reports, and again, I implore you to do your research, has been known, again, according to reports, of torture and unaliving. Again, it just befuddles me how people think they can go out here and break the law and not get caught, especially in 2025. So, again, according to reports, authorities claim or allege that they've obtained video where Atenkwani used some of those cards to obtain money from ATMs. So after everything was said and done, Atenkwani said, "I am so sorry about it. My advice, too much, too little, too late, in my opinion, but again, I digress. I am so sorry about it. My advice is no one should ever think of doing anything like this." Well, sir, did you come to that conclusion after you and your co-defendants were caught, or would this have continued had you not been caught? The very fact that a victim allegedly, and I have to say allegedly to remain prudent and responsible, was defrauded, and this victim allegedly had limited mental capacity and was under your care, sir, at a group home, to me speaks loud about your character, and it's deplorable. $2.7 million and at least 600 victims. That's inexcusable. And to me, again, my opinion, 18 months is very lenient. But again, your concern, sir, is whether or not you're going to be deported, perhaps to Cameroon. And your own words, you want to stay with your family, and you've changed. Being arrested and facing losing almost everything, I would say, would change just about anyone. Not everybody, but just about anyone. And I agree with you. My advice would be never to engage in this or any other fraud, because eventually, you will get caught. Your thoughts and opinions on this latest and the mounting types of fraud schemes that are going on, not just in Maryland, but over the globe. But because I'm in Maryland, I'm reporting on a lot of these stories, and I shake my head and just, it's just unbelievable. Again, the audacity, the unmitigated gall that some people feel as though they can just do these things and, again, feel no remorse. Again, this is just my opinion, until after you're caught. How did you feel prior to that? Now, even though your claims are you received very little, the fact is, I believe you had to know what you were doing was wrong. Was remorse there at that time during the commission of these alleged crimes? Or did it come after? That's key. Thank you for tuning in. And if you like this video and any other videos, please let me know by giving it a big old thumbs up and your thoughts on, again, this horrible scam as it relates to the CARES Act and how people have used and abused these systems to obtain benefits. This particular case focused on unemployment benefits. A lot of people suffered, and they are still suffering from the health issue in 2020. It is now 2025, and as I mentioned, there are people still suffering, people still trying to rebuild. Some people had to suffer with losing their businesses and so many things that they worked their entire lives for. Everyone, please be safe. Make sure that your elders are safe. Well, and you know the rest. Be healthier. Until next video. Bye bye for now.